Okay, so I changed a couple things in the intro, and I think I'll show you where maybe I need to set it up here actually. Um, so I put in these subheadings:
Mhm.
purpose, participants, and organization of the report was already there. So I added this participants section. So during this evaluation cycle, one member of the school committee served through December 2020 and chose not to submit an evaluation of the superintendent's performance when he resigned from the committee. A new member who joined in January 2021 submitted a superintendent evaluation based on observations of the superintendent's performance from January to May in accordance with policy CBI, which we all passed this spring, I think it was.
Mhm.
Comments and ratings from this evaluation are noted with an asterisk in this report because they reflect observation during just over half the evaluation period. Comments from all other evaluations reflect observations during the full school year evaluation cycle. One member of the committee resigned in May 2021 following her final evaluation of the superintendent's performance. She will not be present for the school committee's deliberations and vote on this report. A new member was appointed to begin June 2021 and will participate in these deliberations to the extent possible.
That's excellent.
Okay, so hopefully, what I hope to do is to speak to Jim before this meeting to draw his attention to some of these pieces that he should note. But
Well,
as an
Susan, I
intro,
think that's really, really helpful because even like when you go back, when you look at other years, you never really know, like, well, why did he rate it low? If we didn't have that in there, we would never know that he was, right now it's fresh in our minds that he's new to the committee and he's only looking at a small portion. But I think
yeah,
that's really helpful because there was a lot of change this year. Just reading that, it's hard to
yeah,
believe that all this year.
yeah, I know. I had forgotten that too. I thought it was all done and then I remembered, oh, well, actually, Angela just left too. And
Right.
even though we have our evaluation, she's not part of the conversation. So I need to note that. So I did copy this into the template for you in the future so
Thank
that
you.
you have I think I may have left the text in there. Um,
As like a model.
yeah, as with some, something highlighted about inserting I think I did. Um, I, yeah, I think I did. I'll have to double check that. Okay, so the rest of that part is the same, except I also added this appendix that we talked about,
Yes.
overall summary excerpted from 2019-20. Okay, so then you'll start to see these asterisks. And so then it's important that the reader knows. So um, I thought I put a footnote about this too. I'm just scanning here. I think I need to
Oh,
put
there
it
we go. Yeah.
back at the top as well, where you first see it. Um, okay, so these are the footnotes. The sequence of the listed goals was changed. We talk about that
Yep.
to align with the superintendent's report to the school committee. The updated July 2019, oh, this, whatever document I was citing there was
Oh, right.
updated 2019. The report writers corrected spelling errors only, and asterisk notes one member's evaluative ratings, asterisk, I should say, yeah. Um, and comments based on observations, blah, 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 all of the ratings. Okay. All right. So that's a bunch of what we talked about. And I don't think I changed anything here. Did I? Let's see.
Oh,
Job
I
was
think you put in some quotes. I think it was on the top
I
part,
did. I did. I
which
think
sounded really good. I liked that.
up here. Where?
I think it might have been, was it up higher?
Really? I don't think so. I don't think any
Nope.
quotes up here. No,
Oh,
that's all
no,
the intro.
because I think you
So
said something like, hey,
I did add some quotes to one of these that we had talked about. Let me see. Um, Members agreed in strengths in difficult positions. Job was to meet and balance the needs of varied constituents while navigating restrictive state guidelines and emotional base. that was all there.
Yeah.
Mm,
Maybe it was the second one, because he said something about he was, yeah, at the
Yeah.
bottom there, comments describe Mr. Zangi's leadership as thoughtful, reflective, and proactive, and
Yes, I think the rest of that was the same, right?
yeah, that was really good. I like that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, all in support of this. I also bolded some keywords in these statements so that if he were to, or if someone were to scan these sentences,
They would stand out. Yes, I like
the
that.
idea would stand out. And then let's see, there was some disagreement. Oh, the other thing that we had talked about, I had advocated for making some comment in this first one about this reflecting the third leadership standard. But as I went to do that, it just didn't fit. It didn't feel right. So I didn't do it. I'll try to make that connection for Jim so that he can speak to that issue when he introduces the report. Let's see, was there something here? Yes, I did do something. Oh yeah, we added the last thing, I think. No, let's see.
Oh, I think you added in, this person concluded that the superintendent's core leadership skills were more important
Oh,
during
yes.
the pandemic than meeting
Right.
the benchmarks. That's good,
Yeah,
because that explains it more. Yep.
yeah. So that sort of just shows the difference, the differences in understanding the goal attainment and whether these were works in progress may be of lesser importance than looking at the leadership skills.
Well, did you add that last sentence? Another added, the superintendent did an excellent job updating us on areas, because I thought that was a great ending to that. I think I might have left it at delayed.
I think this was there.
Did I put that in there?
I think so.
Oh, wow. Yay me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was already there. And then the numbers, I do not fully agree on any single rating. Whoops, there should be space here. I think only things I changed here were when we were meeting and we changed it together.
Yeah. 6 months. Oh, yeah. And the leaderships. Yeah.
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 Well, I must have added that. Let's see. Yes. I could, now that hang on, overall 5 committees are 10, 12 categories, 5 or 6 committee members indicated forms. I think I should actually take this line out because I've already put the asterisk in there.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of overemphasizing that, and I probably shouldn't. I should let the asterisk just do its work. Ratings suggest that the superintendent's performance in 2 categories were particular strengths. Yep. And so you see as you glance down here that the asterisks are always sitting on the lowest scores.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the adding the text up above meant that this chart gets cut up. I really liked having this chart on one single page, not having to flip between 2 pages.
Could you just return it so that it starts part 2 on another page, or do you think that would be too much of a break?
No, I could do that. Let's see if there's a way I can maybe just bump this all down a little bit so that like maybe the start here, maybe I'll just put a little more spacing in there. And then looking at those page breaks, I can move that.
Oh yeah, that's great, Susan. It really keeps it all together.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's see. And then we'll push this one down. Okay. Yeah, that's better. I like to even have this on the same page if I can, but I think that's too much of a space, don't you think? I know I could. Oh, just change the numbers. Look at that. It changed. I have 2 2s. I wonder why I did that. Where is 1? Is that supposed to be 1? This must be.
Oh no, that must be number 1. Yeah.
Let me try putting this as the break. I just think it helps to see that all together.
I do too.
Yeah,
I
let's
absolutely do.
leave a
Yeah.
big wide space, unfortunately. Um, so that would be page 5. Okay, so that makes that easier to look at. And then all this verbatim stuff's the same, so nothing's there,
Mhm.
except I put in these asterisks again.
Yes.
Where are they there? So hopefully people will be cued in by now that
Yep.
that's there.
Now,
And
my question is he gonna feel like, because you can't really tell where our comments are, is he
Yeah.
gonna feel like that singles out his comments?
it does single out his comments. And he probably will feel that.
Yeah.
But we do have only one member who had a partial year's comment. So if Cliff
That
had
made a
submitted
difference.
his stuff,
Yeah.
then
You're
he
right.
would also have asterisks next to his.
Yeah.
And we would probably insert then asterisk, September to December. And then on Mike's, we'd say asterisk January to June. So we knew which
Right.
part of the year they were referring to. But yes, I mean, one thing I can do is, I mean, maybe he'll have an alternate suggestion, but in the policy that we changed around this, the superintendent CBI,
Yep.
let me just see if I can find it. Is it here? Hang on. CBI, it says what we added to it. It says if a school committee member steps down before the end of the superintendent's evaluation cycle, or a member is appointed midterm, the member will be asked to complete the superintendent's evaluation in full. The months of their service will be noted with their input in the final report for committee consideration prior to the committee's vote on the final summative evaluation.
And that was just voted on this year?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say, it says the months of their service will be noted. He could argue, I guess, that we noted it at the beginning. But it says with their input. The months of their service will be noted with their input. So that the idea of that is so that when you read that input, it's based on a partial year.
Gotcha. Yep.
Observation. So it doesn't say the months of their service will be noted in the report. It says their months of their service will be noted with their input in the final
Yeah.
report. So, but I think I should let him know this ahead of time so that he understands that it does isolate him that way.
Right. And then because I feel like that's proactive, only because I feel like he would probably have something to say about it in the meeting, and I wouldn't blame him. I'd be like, how come mine are highlighted? But if he understands the background to it, it would probably be a lot helpful.
He may have an alternate suggestion for
True
how
too.
to note that with the input. I don't know what it would be,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I will run that by him and just
Yeah.
see who's getting.
Where on MASC is this under policies, or I'm just curious where you found this, just like
Manual.
in the future.
Do you have, let me see here. Let me go back out and
That's such a resource, that site.
you weren't seeing that just then, were you? Here.
Yeah, this I see, MASC.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So yeah, it's in the policy manual. And if
Okay.
you go to a section C
Yep.
for CBI,
Okay.
and then it's right there.
Excellent. Thank you.
I never looked at this until I was on the policy committee.
Yeah. Oh, I can.
I'm always like, holy smokes, look how many policies there are.
There's a lot of policies.
Crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to this document. Let's
Mhm.
see. I think I have to think I have to switch this every time. I'm sure there's a better way, but I don't know what it is. All right, so those, all the comments. So anything that was a partial year is noted with a asterisk.
Should we bump down that goal one right above?
Yep, thank you. And sorry, I hope I'm not making you dizzy here.
No, not at all. No, please. My kids have tried to show me what they're doing on Minecraft, and I'm like, please, it's like they're turning all around. Look at this building over here. This is nothing. I am battle weary.
Yeah, really.
Oh.
Pretty demanding. Goal 3. Comments. Oh, okay. See, I've broke all these. I'm not to go through. I'll go through and fix the page separations. I won't take time to do that right here. And then leadership standards. And again, you know, all the asterisks are carried down. So in this case, like you see that, you see that that person is merged in with, he's
Right.
4.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I thought originally, because I didn't see the asterisk, because it wasn't on the first page under the footnotes, and that's
Yeah,
the first time it was used. I just assumed, because I had seen it in the chart, that it was the bottom ones, because sometimes it was a 2, because somebody else agreed with him, but because the asterisk was there, I thought it was, oh, we're explaining why the lower ones are what they are. But that makes a lot of sense, because it really does put, that was my concern last year, was I going to be an outlier with what I was saying?
right.
They're at one extreme or the other. So
Right.
I think it's good that they do that.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it's okay to be an outlier
Yeah.
because, and I, you know, I just want to make a note of that. Because the power of this process is that you're considering 6 perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And an outlier perspective is often very useful because they're
Agreed.
doing something or taking a different tack on something than others, and it can be it can make others think differently about something, and
Mhm.
sometimes they should. So being an outlier is okay. I think my guess is that Mike is comfortable being an outlier.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, I think he is.
hopefully he will be here too.
But I mean, I thought his comments were, everybody's comments were really good. I mean, they all made me stop and think. And someone was like, oh yeah. And then other ones, I was like, wow, I either didn't think of it that way, or, oh, I wish I had said that. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
it really
That's-
is interesting.
I think that's the power of it, this being a group process as opposed to an individual process.
Right.
Okay, so then we get down to the appendix,
Mhm.
and that's the same, but I inserted appendix B here,
Yep.
where I just cut these things out. And this was actually instructive to look at. I mean, I had forgotten, and you can see that there was much more consensus on the upper end here,
Mm-hmm.
met or exceeded last time. And of course, it was a different composition. And I don't make any note about that here, about the composition, because I didn't have any real notes about that in last year's report. I think this is something we've improved in this report. In
I
the
agree.
future, you may want to include something about that, cut that participant section out and stick it in as well.
For next year.
Have that context, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
when you
idea.
look, it's like, oh yeah, there was some changeover in the committee that year, and you know, it may help you interpret these results. So I think that's probably a good thing to do. We just didn't have it last year. So this would, I included the narrative summation and the numbers. And that's it.
That's excellent.
So if you know, Jeff were here 4 years and you could look across this data for 4 years, you would see some patterns, I would assume.
So was-
Well, maybe not. Depends on the composition of the committee, actually.
Now,
probably.
was last year the first year that we did this formal evaluation?
No, there has been, last year was the first year that we tried to standardize the report writing process.
Okay.
So in the past, every school committee chair did it their own way
Mhm.
and wrote the report their own way. led the process with the committee deliberations their own way. So we're trying, last year was the first time we tried to, actually from the beginning of that year, if not before, we tried to develop a process that would be stable from year to year, pretty much, in part because that's what's fair to the superintendent.
Right.
Have something predictable. This is a significant thing for him to be evaluated in public every year and have his salary attached to it. So it should be a stable process. And second, it helps the committee not have to figure it out, and the committee chair in particular, not have to figure this out from year to year.
Right.
There's just this process you can step into. So hopefully, if that's
Does
helpful.
everyone else use this form, Susan, or is this just our form?
This the report form that we fill out.
Not the report form, but the evaluation that we filled out. Each of us individually.
Yeah, that's from the state.
That's from the state. So every school committee does that for their superintendent?
You have the right locally to modify that form or to use a different form, but you have to do certain things. The state
Okay.
has to know that you're maintaining certain aspects of the process. So there's some specs about, as long as you take care of this, this, and this, you can make modifications. I think you may even have to get it approved by the state. So most school committees probably look like our form.
Yeah, because I was thinking if someone ever went out for like a, superintendent job, they could always give their evaluations and it might actually be meaningful to the people who are reading it because it's familiar.
Yes,
I'm
the this report template is ours.
Yeah. Yes.
But so there is no single report, summative report form that he could hand to another employer, but he could certainly, if he handed these charts over, it would look familiar to a lot of places.
Now,
Because all these categories for ratings are state.
across the state. Now, do we hand this into the state or does Christy just hold on to it okay,
Yeah,
just for our records?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I think this report looks ready to go. I'm not seeing, as I'm flipping by, I'm not seeing red lines showing spelling errors anymore. I didn't fix grammatical things. If there was one, this proactive one is probably supposed to be one word, so I can fix that. Okay. But I don't think that there's anything else getting flagged. I'm not sure if did I fix them in the comments? Let me see.
Oh,
That's supposed to probably be like a semicolon, but that's grammatical, and I want to stick with
just in case we change the interpretation. I agree.
Make sure there's nothing else that's going to get by us. So the last thing I'll just fix is any page splits that are weird.
Yeah, this is great. So now this will be given out to us on Tuesday, sometime before the meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And Jim and Jeff will probably see it earlier because they need to prepare for the meeting.
That makes sense. And then is our school committee meeting, is it the 1st?
No, it's like the 14th.
The 14th.
It's later. I'm not sure why it got put at the 14th. I would have thought it would be the 8th, but.
Oh, you're right. I see it over here, the 14th. You're right. I think I thought it was the same thing, but we moved it to a Monday, right? There was something going on the 8th. Someone needed to move it, I feel.
It's probably graduation. No. 8th is a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think maybe Jim had something and he wasn't going to be there, or.
Yeah, maybe because it threw me for a loop. I was using the wrong date for a while.
I'm glad you said that because I was all of a sudden I was starting to panic. I'm like, I don't know why it wouldn't be on my calendar. That's kind of my
14th.
guide.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's here.
Okay, so I think this is all set, and I don't think that we have anything else to do unless the committee asks us to make some kind of revision.
Mhm.
So the next thing that we need to do is to take a look at if we can summarize the self-assessment results.
Right. Yep.
That doesn't have to be done until the fall meeting, but it might be nice. It depends what your life is like in June, but it might be nice to have that done, finish it in June, so we don't have to think about it.
So next week is our last week of sports. Everything after next week, my life goes back to normal. Like last night I was out at Fitchburg. They told us it was at the high school, which is actually in Ashby. It wasn't. It was over by Monty Tech, but wasn't at Monty Tech. It was behind. Oh my goodness. But I'll tell you this is the first year that we've had a girls varsity lacrosse team, and they are undefeated. They have one more game to go. It's against Oakmont, which is where I went to high school. It's on Wednesday night, and we just squeaked a win out when we were at home. It was it was neck and neck. It was such a good game.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been loving going to the games. The girls are really, really good.
Well, I get like that too, when it's a close match, everybody plays up. Everybody plays at their best, and so you really see a great game when it gets tense like that.
Well, and it's funny too, because my son is 13 and he plays U15, so it's for it's for the town, Berlin Boylston, and he went to the game with me last night, and he's like, even I like watching this game because it's fast action. There's a lot of completions where they're throwing it to each other, and my daughter got her first ever goal. She was so excited because she doesn't get a lot of playing time. She's the first year on varsity. She's been JV for a while, and it's more of like you have to be aggressive and sure of yourself, and she doesn't always have that, but she got right in there, man. It was great.
Now she knows what that feels like, so she'll probably do it.
Motivator. Yeah. So, but yeah, so after next week, Susan, June is completely wide open. I would love to get it done. Well, it's still fresh on our minds too.
I think so. I feel that way too. So let's pick a date, because it's just the two of us, somewhere in the last couple of weeks of June.
Yeah, I'm pretty much wide open.
How about the 24th, Thursday, the 24th?
Yep.
Thursday, 24th. At, like say, we'll do the 10 to 12 zone.
That's perfect.
And then I'm thinking, I think I sent you the link to the results, right?
Can you resend it? I'm not sure that I have it, because I feel like I would have looked at it, but then again, I feel like a lot's gotten by me lately, so.
So I'm gonna send the link to the results, and I'll send last year's report.
Yes, thank you.
That sort of model. And I honestly can't remember how we did it. Like, one of us summarized strengths, and one of us summarized areas for growth.
Yes.
I mean, yes, yeah, that's right. So I think last year you did strengths, didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
So how about we flip it so we have experience?
That sounds good. Yeah.
So when you
so have that written when we meet?
Yeah, I'm wondering, or at least, well, let me see. We have a minute here.
Yeah,
so
I have time.
Pull it up. Give me just a second to find this. And hang on for a second. Okay, first I just sent you the link, but you don't have to open it because I'm going to open it here. No, but what we need is not that. I think what we need is the report itself. So let me get that. Let's see.
Oh yeah, I got the link.
right, now I guess the next thing I need to do is make a template out of this too. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So this is what we had last year. We had an introduction.
Mhm.
We are evaluated. Okay, this is template stuff at the top.
Yeah.
Um, and then I can update this text here because we're past sort of piloting it. Now we're using it. And I'll put in some markers. Yeah, I'll make a template. Here's the structure of the report. The offers 3 levels of information for the reader. The first is a broad, the substantive summary of findings. This may be sufficient for many readers to understand the results. The second level represents a deeper dive and offers more specific description of each of the areas of school committee responsibility that we've elevated in the findings. This is relevant for school committee members as they begin to discuss how these findings may inform the next goal setting efforts. The third level of information, we have also included 2 appendices. These list the specific item responses and verbatim comments related to areas of perceived strength and potential development. This level of information is for those who may want to dig into data more fully. As are the complete survey results, which are available here. Okay, so I guess what we've done here in this third level, specific item responses and verbatim comments related to areas of perceived strength and development. So throughout the report, we've identified the priority areas in each of those 2 bins, strengths and areas of development. If you want to know about other areas that didn't rise to those levels, you
Mhm.
have to go into the survey results.
Gotcha.
That's because there are like how many, 50 items or something. So it's a way to reduce.
And I bet you these numbers are off this year because I feel like we either renamed or deleted or.
That's true. So we can't do a direct comparison. So I'll have to update this piece here and note that we made some revisions. So that changed the number of items and how many in each category. So I'll need to update that. Committee members were asked to indicate their perceptions of committee's performance. These categories are still the same. And the following report summarizes the patterns and priorities we identified from our analysis. And again, survey participants, so we should make note, this here, yeah, I think we should, even though it's not in the, it's not in our school committee policy, that we would put an asterisk next to partial year responses in this report. I think we should do the same.
I would agree.
I'll talk to Mike.
Continuity.
about that too.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we had a summary paragraph. And then we had areas of perceived strength. I think I may have done this summary one.
I think you did too. I think that was when I was really nervous.
Yeah,
I was also doing 6 classes. I was doing 6 education classes.
right. Oh my gosh, I forgot that. Yes, these were the criteria that we used. Results showed consistently high ratings in 4 areas of performance. Participants' comments suggest the committee is continually working to improve its functioning and is showing important gains over the past several years. Also provided clear direction for consideration. 2 areas were identified for further consideration based on, and these were the criteria we used for picking out those low performance areas.
Mhm.
2 or more ratings in the lowest categories or widely varying perspectives. So I think we should try to use these criteria again.
Yep.
And see if they work. If for some reason they don't work, then what would work?
Right, right.
And what did we use? Consistently high ratings. So that's all we said about the areas of strength. They just had consistently, everybody was like, we're good with this one.
Okay.
Um,
That
now,
makes sense. Yep.
it may not show up that way this year. It may be
Yeah.
that still some spread and, well, I'll take a look and just see. If there's some other criteria we should use, I'll propose that when we meet. So I think if you could test out these criteria and see if
Yep.
you can identify areas for development based on those two criteria, or propose alternate criteria if you feel like these just don't work.
Gotcha. Yep.
And so we had just a paragraph each.
Mhm.
We identified several specific areas of perceived strength. First, the committee feels its meetings were typically run efficiently. This includes blah, blah, blah. And so we unpacked that
Mhm.
first, that was there. And then we had here, how did we get down to third? Where's second?
That includes,
Second,
the committee believes its personal practices are effective.
it looks like we had one statement and then one supporting statement,
Yes. Yep.
and then one statement and one clarifying supporting statement. It could
Yeah.
clarify something to unpack it a little bit. And then a third, receive their collective bargaining practices are well developed, and a fourth. And five. So we had
Oh,
five.
wow, we had a great year.
Yeah, right. You should soak in it while we can.
Right.
And then this one, areas for development, we identified two areas. And that was clear to us looking at the results. And they were bigger areas. I remember this community engagement was a bigger area. So you'll have to see, you know, at what level did the strengths
Right.
emerge? You know, it could be big global statements. This is a category we just are suffering in, or whether it's something more specific within a category, we'll have to see when we look at the results. But again, we identified two areas, first and second.
Now,
Okay.
would we consider doing this as an appendix and as an appendix to this so people could look back and see, or do we not? Like, would last year's results be important for this year's results? Only because I'm looking at, I just saw that, for example, in 10 out of 38 items, only one member out of 6 gave a relatively low rating. So that, you know, that happened last year too. Everybody has a different perspective. I just didn't know if it would be helpful, or if you just kind of want to see it by itself and look at progress and maybe note something that was different from last year, or.
To append this summary to the next report, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we should, I wasn't sure if we should include anything from this one like we did with the superintendents. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's necessary or not.
Important because you might see, you know, that, geez, you know, the committee's been working on this area for 3 years and we don't, are we making progress? Or are we not making progress? You know,
Right,
we may be making progress, and sustained attention to that area has proven fruitful.
right,
We may be working in the same area for 3 years and we're just not getting any traction,
yeah,
and we need to do something differently. And so I think it is important to append. I don't know for how long. I mean, you obviously don't want to do that forever, but maybe
right,
a 5-year period, it might be important to keep track. Yes, and I think the other reason that can be good is because a lot of times with goal setting in school systems, people just pick different things every year, whether or not last year's goal was finished or
Right.
whether or not it was addressed. And so they
Right.
just kind of, it's like shuffleboard somehow, you know, things just are different. There's no follow through. There's
Right.
no progress gained because we just keep changing our focus all the time.
Yeah,
And so I think it's important for us to keep an eye on whether we're actually following through to results. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. We should do that. So what else did we say here? We chose not to discuss the remaining survey items in this report because they typically had only a single lower rating or comment. 10 out of 38, only one member gave a low rating. We decided to focus this report on results that reflected greater agreement in the ratings. However, we remind
Mm.
readers that these single ratings still represent important perspectives. So we recommend committee members review and consider these during goal setting discussion. And then we reflected on the survey instrument, which we can do again if, because since we made revisions, we might want to do that.
Yeah.
And then the deeper dive, what did we do here? The school committee survey responses showed unanimous ratings in 4 performance areas. So here we got a little bit more specific.
Mhm.
So we must have written this afterwards. So I guess what's important then is while we're working on the summation at the top,
Mhm.
that we probably did this level first, actually. We probably pulled together the data that was standing out
Mhm.
and we're forming the criteria that the filtering criteria we're using.
I
And
think we did. I think the first time we met, did we share these?
we probably did, because then I think we then rolled this up into 1 paragraph summation at the top.
Yeah, I think we wrote that part together, I feel like.
Oh, that's possible. We
And
may
by
have,
together, I mean, you came up with some really great ideas and I agreed. Because I was at the point where I had writer's block. It was all written out.
all new. You were very brave to take on both the evaluation and the self-assessment. So
Well, I'll tell you, I learned really quickly though. It was the best education I could have had.
yeah, that's good. That's great.
And it was helpful too, because we met so often. Any questions that I had about the school committee, I was able to talk to you. So you were my mentor, which was really helpful. You have no idea.
So I think that what will be important, I'll send this report to you.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's in our drive, but it's good to have on file, I think. And we should refer to the section that we're working on.
Yes.
Um, and here where this part was easier, because one of the things about the development piece was that if the development is going to inform our goal setting, we don't want 5 or 6 areas of development. It's fine to have 5 or 6 areas of strength if they show up, but unless they're of equal, unless they're showing up equally with equal weight, if they show up with equal weight, then the committee should talk in the fall about which ones they think are the right ones to work on.
Right.
But if there's some that are, just stronger areas of development than others, don't include the others. Just,
Okay.
help the group focus is always, I think, the challenge. But if there's something else that's showing up if there are a number of areas, then the committee will need to talk about which are the areas that we think we should follow through on or relate to the superintendent's goals, because we want our goals to be in sync with the superintendent's goals sometimes.
Mhm.
So the committee may have to discuss which of the areas that show up as need areas for development are the ones that they think we want to form goals around. So we'll have to see how many show up.
Right, now I have a question just in looking this over. So when I was sending Julie all of the information that she would need to get started as a new school committee member, I noticed that when I found the handbook, the new member section wasn't updated with the stuff that Angela and I had did. Should I go in and adjust that?
You mean you had stuff that you had talked about that needed to be updated, but it hadn't been updated?
Yeah, so Angela and I made a Google Doc that was about, the new member onboarding and orientation, but that has not been added to because it's constant work in progress. We were done with it. And I never really thought about the fact that it probably should go into the handbook itself. So when I was putting links down for Julie, I put the link to our doc. And then and the only reason I did that was because when I linked the school committee handbook, and maybe I had an old version, it had the older it had, some of the steps, but then we had expounded and made a much more detailed list of where to go, what to do. So I wasn't sure. I didn't want to put that on Christy. I didn't know if I should do it.
You should do it.
Okay, that's what I'll do then. I'll update that.
Um, you can always make a note if you want to keep track, or I think probably a better way to do it is to make any substantive changes. I
Mhm.
would just make a note of it and report out at school committee. You
Okay,
know,
okay, that's a good idea.
all
Yep.
substantive changes, updates to the or whatever we call that, induction handbook or something. Uh,
Yes,
and people don't need a lot of detail, but I think it's good for the committee to know that you're actively doing those things. It's
right,
not a dead document that
right.
we're paying attention to. We're actually using it and we're making it better as we go along. So yeah, I would go ahead, definitely do that. And
Okay.
then it's kept on, you're doing that as a Google Doc, right, on the shared
Yes,
drive,
yeah,
so anybody can access those revisions.
absolutely. Yep, they're all there for full access.
And then if you ever want to get into something that you're really developing in there, like you feel like there's a whole section missing, you wanted to highlight that to the school committee, you can always do one of those little one-page reports from, you know,
Oh,
as the mentor, orientate or induction lead,
mhm.
when we report out on goals or committees, that kind of thing, you can put in your own report if you ever want to. Uh,
Okay, that's good to know, yeah.
I mean, I think it's not a bad idea to do that anyway, occasionally, just to say, to keep us in the loop about what induction looks like.
Right. Well, and it's funny, even with Mike, there were things that came up that I was like, oh, I need to add that in there. And then even with Julie, there was something that she asked, and I'm like, wow, we should put that in there too. So I've been taking notes. I just want me to go. I'll go and add that back in, but I'll also. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I think it's really good to make revisions according to the kinds of questions that people raise. And the other document the other way you could do it, I mean, you can go into the document to the section that needs more information.
right.
The other thing you can do is to create sort of a frequently asked questions document.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just
That's
collect
really
the
good.
questions during the year
Yeah.
and throw out. And if when you look at those at the end of the year, you may say, these were particular to this person, but maybe there's some items there like this should be in there. No
Right.
matter who is new, everybody new should know the answer to this question, and you can put it into the body of the text. But
That's
sometimes
excellent.
frequently asked question is one that they could just scan and see if they have those same questions or not. I
Right.
think that's great that you're doing that. Yes, and that is in your domain, since
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know we want it to be a living document.
right. And I didn't want to just go in there and assume, but then I didn't want to be like, then I didn't want to assume that Christy was going to do it and give her something else to do.
No,
So
no,
I was teetering between two.
yeah, that's definitely our document. Christy doesn't do anything with that. That's for us.
Perfect. Then I'll do that. Excellent.
Awesome. That's great that you're doing that. So
Yeah.
I'll send this report.
Yep.
And
Thank you. That will be helpful.
we'll see if we can get some kind of a draft together for this level,
Hmm.
the specific level, and to me,
Even the
what
summary at the top.
if you feel like the summary is within your mental reach at the
Yep.
point, there, if there's something you feel like I'd rather talk about this first before I write the summary, we
Right.
can we can talk at the next meeting and then both go off and write the summaries and then put those in.
Okay. That sounds good. But if
So at
I
least
can, yeah.
aim to have this specific level done. How many areas, and what did the content say? So we'll use this as our model, and you're going to do areas of need and I'm going to do strengths.
Perfect.
I'm just going to make a note of that. I wrote that. Areas of need, worry, detail level. This is a section of the report. Let's see.
Deeper.
Part 2, deeper dive. And part 2, summary, if we feel like we're ready. But no pressure. Mostly it's important to get these categories right, because maybe when
I
we
agree.
talk, we might change some of that and then you would have wasted time on the summary. So the summary is less important right now. Areas of need and strengths is me. And we're shooting for 6:24, and I'll do up an agenda and send that to Christy. Will you have time before the 24th to complete that? That's like a month away.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, easily. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you have the link to the results and you have the report format. So I'll also need to prepare a template. Okay. And Christy will put materials, these same materials in our it'll be in the superintendent evaluations subcommittee folder
Yep,
she'll set up a folder for June 24th.
perfect. That's great.
All right, I think that's all we need here. Let's see. This stuff we can put in later.
Oh, with the, yep.
Okay. Awesome.
And then
Good.
we present this in September, correct? Or at our,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Or October, one of the two, wherever Jim feels like there's room.
It'll fit, yeah.
Good. Well, this will be interesting to look at. All right, so I think that's it. Anything